We, at the house call, had our reservations about the drafting of J.J. McCarthy in the first round. We felt that there were plenty of quarterbacks that were ahead of him from a passing standpoint. Obviously, his leadership and his championship acumen is there. We've seen it. We know he's capable of being part of a championship team with talent around him and a good defense. He is a bona fide game manager, and we did say if there was a place for him to go to be the best that he could be, it would be under an offensive-minded coach that is used to grooming quarterbacks and getting the most out of them with a lot of weapons around them. And lo and behold, he lands in Minnesota, which checks every single box. And yet, he is buried on the depth chart behind Nick Mullins, enough said, and a guy who sees ghosts after OTAs. That is concerning, but there's a reason Sam Darnold was brought in. And, reports have come out, hey, let's not get to, sound the alarm bells. We're in OTAs. He's the number 10 pick. We knew he was going to be brought along like this. There is still time. All of these things, and yet you can't help but to wonder all of the criticisms that had J.J. McCarthy all over the big board when it came to draft day. There were people who had him solidly in the first round. There were people that had him, about where some of the other guys went, specifically Spencer Rattler, who went in the fifth round to the Saints. So right. J.J. McCarthy was all over the place, and where they saw him as a passer, his size, his athleticism, his arm, his actual just raw arm talent. No one was comparing him to the two best arms from a strength perspective in this draft, and Drake May and Joe Milton. But they said that on the move, out of the pocket, he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks. And we saw it time and time again when he had to make a big throw to kind of keep a drive going or, avoid a sack, things like that. He was able to do that. So, Sammy, I want to kick it to you here, man. Obviously, having, you had questions about your quarterback in Miami for years.
Right.
And, a lot of the same things were questioned with him. How can he be a good passer? Does he have the raw, passing capability? Does he need people around him to succeed? What do you make of this sort of early, off-season news, as we like to call it, about J.J. McCarthy's development post-draft?
It's definitely rough for JJ, for sure. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on him, pressure that I don't think really deserves yet. Look, I think I'm one of those people who thought that he was gonna fall very far in the draft. This is just a case of a QB coming in and is just surrounded by a lot of veterans, a lot of lights, since he just won a national championship. You're going to a place like Minnesota where they just got off of a quarterback, right? Justin Jefferson. You got to deal with a great weapons room. And now the expectation is, okay, show us what you can do. And of course, they brought in Sam Darnold for insurance. They brought in Nick Mullins for insurance. We all know how Nick Mullins ended up. It really just didn't work out. Nick Mullins he is who he is. With Sam Darnold, there's a bit more optimism around him because, he was under Shanahan. Maybe he learned something over there. Maybe he is able to grow more under Kevin O'Connell. But then we get to J.J. McCarthy. And J.J. McCarthy coming in was looked at as a QB that you're going to have to develop, even after he won a national championship. So it is a bit concerning that he's third right now in the depth chart. However, I do think we got to remember what our opinion on J.J. McCarthy was at draft day. And that was, as a developmental prospect, you're going to have to give him a little bit of time. And it is going to take a bit. Now, you did mention Tua Tagovailoa, my QB, who is in the midst of some apparently very interesting talks concerning his contract. With Tua, it was a bit different because with Tua, I think his questions were more injury related than they were really talent related, because the talent on the field kind of spoke for himself. When he was at Alabama before his injury, things were going very, very well. It came to a point where he was playing through injury and he was going toe to toe with you could argue, the biggest, in the middle of the best college QB season ever, Joe Burrow. He went toe-to-toe with him in one of those games. So that means something. With JJ McCarthy, it's different because you're coming fully healthy. 1, 2, you're off the back of a national championship, right? And you have to go through a gauntlet to win that championship, mind you. But on top of that, JJ McCarthy, I mean, the expectation is you're part of a winning program. We expect you to come in and do something a bit similar. So it's definitely you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because on one hand you want to see this guy JJ McCarthy immediately succeed, but on the other hand it's like, well, are we really going to rush the process? Are we really going to speed run this, despite the fact that coming to draft and we said, you know what, he's probably going to be a developmental. And a bit of a reminder too, look, just because you drafted in the first round does not necessarily mean you have to start day one.